record on this computer. Right, don't swear, we're on. So here we go. Slides. Hopefully you will be able to see my slides. Yes? Yes, fabulous. I've got Pippa in my corner here, so you can see thumbs up. Right, so the 6 departments, get your pens going then. And some of this you'll just say, yeah, no, that makes sense. But I'm going to dig deep on these. So my guess is be an hour. So to give you some idea is my expectation. We have a product department, and we're going to go through these all in detail. We have a product department. Even if you're selling a service, you have a product department. We have a marketing department, and this has been coming up so much. These 2 departments, just yesterday, I'm going to name drop. I coached some people in Florida, and I was talking to them yesterday, and they were talking about a sales meeting. And I said, no, it's not a sales meeting. It's a marketing meeting. So often we think that we're talking about sales, and actually sales is the easy bit. It's the marketing. We're having a marketing meeting. So sales and marketing separated out, different departments. The support department, which encompasses everything, including customer service, IT, and all things that basically enable your business to function. And then we've got the finance department, which is, fairly self-explanatory. And then even if you're a sole trader, you have an HR department. So, and even if you employ your daughter, you have an HR department. So you have, if you're on your own, as I am, I have to accept responsibility for my human resources, which is essentially me. So we're going to go down on these in a bit more detail. And just a kind of an overview, really. So the whole idea here is to kind of take stock, review, reflect, and revise. And when I start asking you the questions about your products, I'm confident that if you can take a step back and look at your products again, the world changes so much and so quickly. And it's making sure that you marry up your products and your services, which we're going to productize, with what the customers are now wanting and needing in a way that is palatable to them. Product development, so the improvement and enhancement of quality control, is it still up to standard? So often our quality starts dropping when we get bored, when we've been delivering over and over again. One of the things that I've done over the years to try and avoid that from happening is to reinvent. Probably, I wouldn't say every year, but certainly every 18 months. I call it reinvention, but essentially it's quality control, because if I'm going again, if I'm putting new content together, it's fresh for me, then that keeps the quality levels up. And then product management could be anything from, and again, think of them as things in boxes. So services, imagine if it was a box. I know that some of you on here will know Anna Fox. And I spoke to her about how Fox in a box, what's in the box, what is it that I get, the service that is being provided. Imagine it in a box file. If I took it off the shelf, what's in that box? So you service providers, you're just as it's just as important for you as it is for people selling widgets and things. Right, the marketing department, we could just do, and I'm sure we will, just do a whole class just on, let me make sure that I bring the chat box up because I don't want to miss any chats. And if anybody turns up, because I need to turn on the fact that it doesn't ding and tell me that somebody's waiting to come in, because I think Nikki had registered, but she's not here. She might turn up. Marketing, yeah, we could just do a whole masterclass, and I'm sure we will, just on marketing and elements of it. So, the common sense stuff, which you guys will know, but maybe don't do so much of as you should. I kind of alluded to some of this this week with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? The market research thing, ask, phone a friend, ask the audience, and then the 50-50, there you go. Look, as if by magic, Nikki has just turned up. You just got to look skyward sometimes and it just know that somebody is looking down on us. So welcome, Nikki. If you've arrived, I can't see you, but I'm confident that you're here now. So you haven't missed anything. It's been rubbish up to now. So market research is, of course, going out and I know it's died down a bit now, but platforms like LinkedIn, when they first introduced polls, God, if I saw another poll on my LinkedIn feed, but they're useful tools. So understanding, and I'm sure we've all done this, right? So we've been down the high street and a lady's come over and said, can you come and taste all these chocolate bars for us and fill out a survey? So and it's essentially it's groundwork, it's useful stuff to know. So people's habits, people's needs, wants change over time, and I've noticed it. So even stuff like this with the MBA, we have to start asking questions. What is it that you need? What is it that you want, so that you can adapt or modify your product to meet that need? So you have to go to market to understand your market, if that makes sense. So I say to people on your socials, rules of three, so thirds. A third of your time should be spent engaging with your existing audience. A third of your time should be spent trying to grow that audience. And a third of your time you should feel comfortable promoting or marketing or selling your products or services. And so the time spent trying to grow your audience, seeing and asking questions and seeing who some of these people are that are starting to engage with you may change the way in which you go to market. Branding, I've done a lot of branding refresh. So, and I know we've got digital marketers on here. Branding so important, and again, no different to what colors are in season. These things change. The only thing I would say about branding is nowhere near as important, or as again, this is just my opinion. No one is it just my opinion? I guess it's opinion based on a lot of stuff that I've read and worked on, is that certainly my experience is the right word. People, small business owners, tend to put far too much or spend far too much time worrying about their brand. And actually, the most important thing is about your product and service. Your brand is important to you and your mum. So as long as you love your brand, that's really all that matters, unless there's something fundamentally wrong with the brand that you've put together. Advertising, right? So offline. So one of the things that we'll talk about today is and I again, I've had coaching meetings this week, trying to encourage somebody to balance, which is hard, but that's part of my job, is to encourage offline marketing to balance with your online, because the online is often free and very easy and very accessible, but that doesn't mean that it is the only place you should be. And so part of that, which you can get very inexpensively now, is advertising. And then, of course, the other piece is the digital marketing. We're going to dive down on all of this. So and then the sales, right? So to drive revenue, the sales process, in all honesty, which we will talk about today, I could give you in 4 words. And as long as you cover these 4 words in this order, for me, that's how kind of basic sales can be. And we are talking about all of us. We tend to muddy up our marketing and our sales together, and we talk about we're trying to sell stuff, we're trying to and the sales process, and it's not sales at all, it's actually marketing. And if you were to imagine this incredibly broad, which it should be, incredibly broad funnel, and an incredibly pointy thing at the end, which is the sale, the sale engagement piece. Don't get me wrong, it still needs to be right. So in there, which actually is part of where the challenge comes from, is our CRM systems, which contain both prospecting and marketing information as well as the sales process activity. Your sales strategy. So if you haven't, even if you just get a pen and a piece of paper and to draw this out and to, again, I've had this conversation recently, asking some questions about, so then what happens? And then what do you do? And then what do you send them? And how long do you wait before you then send that? So I was taught right back 2004, even if I could see somebody tomorrow, arrange to meet them in 7 to 10 days time so that you can get some additional touches in, because you dramatically increase the risk of the sale if you can further enhance that relationship before you go straight to the sales meeting. So that's all part of your strategy. Sales training, all I would say to you is the whole sales training piece is pick the right, the right one for you. It is a skill, it's a science, it's not a dark art. So I've seen people, I'm guilty of it. Early days, I wasn't aware of what I'd been taught, and I've sold my coaching to people that couldn't afford it, and I've had to give them their money back. Like, it's a true story. I can tell you, I could give you three examples. One stands out, was a roofer, 2004. I'd only not long been coaching, and I deployed all of the sales tools that I was taught, and he wrote me a check out, and I came home chuffed a bit. So I'd got a sale. This is pre-social media, and uh, gave it to my partner and said, some money to be banked. And he sent me a message saying, "I'm really sorry. Please don't cash that check. My van's in for a service. And if you cash that check before my van comes out, I can't get my van out. I just don't have the money." So sales is a process, sales is a skill. And we will have all been sold something in the past that we didn't want, need, or desire, because they deployed sales trickery on us. And I remember having a long conversation with several conversations actually on the idea of with Keith Blakemore Noble, the idea of putting together a course or a book on anti-sales, how to avoid being caught by those sales trickery. And that resulted in a book, I believe. So yeah, so it works both ways. And then, of course, the thing that is probably has kept me a living over the last 20 years, because people don't do it, is just some basic metrics. So I'm doing a talk next week, which I will bring into the MBA, 3,125 combinations to grow a business. So it's actually those 3,125 combinations come from 9.75 million combinations. So, which is probably a long presentation. So we're going to do the shorter one. But it comes from some very basic metrics, which I will share with you in another presentation. The thing about performance metrics is not actually no different to what you guys have been exposed to in this school environment, is that if you get that bit right, if you can get the gamification of your metrics right, they can become a fun thing, and they can become something that you chase and something that you want. I've worked with hairdressers that have had literally got hair down a wall, and they've got a pair of scissors on Velcro moving up this hairstyle thing to chase targets. I remember a lady, in fact, her partner is in the group, but he's still on level 1. He's been in here since day 1. But they've got some challenges. I'm sure he'll be joining us at some point. He assures me he will. They had a laminated dog, and they used to get the dog to chase a bone. When Janet was running an estate agency, she had Monopoly hotels on a shelf. So there's lots of ways in where's Becky? Becky's here. I coached an accountant for 10 years and they put beans in a jar. So there is lots of ways that when it says performance metrics, everyone kind of thinks, crappy spreadsheets and boring stuff. The secret here is to turn it into something that is fun and interesting to do. And so you end up chasing it. You want it to happen. So when it says performance metrics, it all sounds very dull and uninteresting, but actually you can turn that into something. Yeah, who is it that loves a spreadsheet? Oh, God. In fact, I'm surprised she's not joined us because she helped me with the spreadsheets for the original MBA. It will come to Shirley Morman. Everyone loves a bit of Shirley. So oh my God, we've got everybody on spreadsheets now. I'm so glad. I've just alienated myself from all these Microsoft Excel fans. So anyway, listen, I did a very pretty spreadsheet for my 100-mile walk or run this month. So I enjoy exactly that. I enjoyed filling it in every day. So right. So where are we? Support department. This is a very broad brush. The support department is a big department because it encompasses actually another word for it would be the ops department, right? So the operations department. And as a former operations director, I actually felt that it was the hub of the organization. So I really enjoyed being in the middle as an ops director. So, but we've got support. I've called it support for this, and of course, it's especially nowadays. This probably or may not have been a priority maybe 10, 15 years ago. Certainly since COVID, and with lots of us working from home and not in an office and all things related, IT in every sense is incredibly. We wouldn't be here, so we wouldn't be sat here without it. So having somebody that you know and trust to support you, I own a living traveling, in 2 weeks' time, I'm in Australia, not physically in Australia. I'm sat here in Australia in my gym jams at 1 o'clock in the morning because of IT. So, and having somebody that I can tap up if something's not working quickly is really important. Customer support, customer service. This is another mastermind, which I really should put on the list. Is if you're looking for anything over the next 12 months as meat in your sandwich of strategy, I would say raising your standards of support in any way that you can, whether it be speed, whether it be over delivery, whether it could maybe not price, but anything that enhances or improves, or you have a strategy that says I'm aiming to make my levels of customer support better and better, will give you a winning strategy, I promise you, because it goes against the delta. Customer support and levels of service are going south. They've been going south since COVID, and they are still going south. And so if you can have or have a strategy or run a business that is going north, not south, you are going against the delta. People will come to you because of your levels of service. So if you're looking for a strategy or a theme or somewhere to go as meat in your sandwich, then I would say customer support and customer service is a great place to focus. Administrative support, again, even if it's just you, admin support, of course, you can. In fact, I've had this conversation just this week. Somebody that tried offshore, and it hadn't worked very well. I've probably got 4 or 5 that have tried offshore, low cost, efficient. Actually, that it wasn't about the service that was the problem. It was the fact that they just didn't understand because it was a geographic based business. Both of them were geographic based businesses. So yeah, and the other thing is, even if you are non-geographic, using a UK based Somebody like Pippa, for example, she knows where Birmingham is. She knows roughly how long it takes to get there from London. She knows the type of people that might live in Scotland or in Brighton or wherever it might be. She'll know how much it costs to get to London. She'll know. So anybody that has that ambient knowledge from an administrating support level is, if you're going to outsource, these are the types of things that you should be looking for. Need to keep moving. We're 30 minutes in already. Facility management, right? So I'm sat in my office at home. Facilities management, it could be making sure that I have got cartridges for my printer, that my lights are all working fine. Yeah, just think of it. The more that you think of this as a department or a separate business, even if you work alone, the more serious that you take it, that, refine. I was taught back in 2004, and those that have been in business a long time, have been around coaches, will know this phrase, and I think it is terrible. I hate it. Massive action gets massive result. Honestly, I hate it. I hate it with a passion. And when I first came back and I started sharing that tagline, if you like, come on, we're going to take massive action, you'll get massive results. Business owners run a mile if you start talking about doing anything massive. Like, they got it all on already. And actually, it's not true anyway. The success comes from small changes. Small beneficial changes get you massive results. That's the secret to this. And so things like just making sure that you've got everything that you need in your home office, wherever that might be. I went to see somebody, it was before Christmas, and they were on their dining table with their laptop, and they got a printer on in the corner on that table. And I said, well, where is this where you work? And he said, yeah, I've been here since COVID. And it's just like, well, you haven't sorted it out. He said, no, we never went back to the office, and so this is my office. I said, that's wrong. This is just fundamentally wrong. So facilities management. Finance, right, over to Becky. I'll let you do this one. Just very straightforward. I'm not going to spend any time on it. It's, common sense stuff. The conversation I was having yesterday about forecasting and budgeting, they are very different to goal setting, right? So you should be able to budget and forecast accurately. And that is very different to setting an ambitious goal, a revenue goal, or whatever that might be. So your budget and your forecast should be within, a degree of accuracy. So, and the more time that you spend working on these things, the more you will hone in on it. And I can remember working with guys over the years that got really, really good at forecasting and budgeting what the numbers were going to be. And a conversation I had yesterday was around somebody that had been set a very ambitious target that he knows he can't achieve. And I said to him, well, then you need to budget and forecast. So, and let them know the bad news so that it can be reset and reassessed. So many great tools now, and I'm sure people like Becky as one of our accounting experts here, there will be at very low cost tools that will help you with things like budgeting and forecasting, and certainly financial reporting. So, and then the last department, and then we're going to start asking some questions. If you haven't downloaded the forms, I encourage you to do so. Recruitment. Right. So again, you sole traders, you can't, if this is just as valid for you. When I say recruitment, this might be the recruitment of a new accountant. It might be the recruitment of a VPA. It might be the recruitment of a new web developer or an IT, somebody to do your IT support. See it as recruitment. So training and development of both you and could be those third parties, educating them in how you like to work. So employee relations, compensation and benefits. Again, these things apply to you. So one of the things that I compensate and benefit myself with is that on a Friday afternoon, I like to go home early. It's just one of the benefits that I give myself as being a business owner. It's one of the perks of the job. And I've kept it as a Poets Day, which is how it used to be known in the corporate world. For those that know Poets Day, pee off early tomorrow, Saturday. When I transitioned across into becoming my own business owner, in fact, I try and keep Mondays and Fridays to myself. Doesn't mean I don't work, but I absolutely down tools early on a Friday and get into the weekend. So, and I schedule and what have you accordingly. So, and if I was at a team, part of that HR engagement would very much be that. Right. Going to keep moving. I did say to you have a pen. Right. So the first handout we're going to do a review, reflect, and revise. All right. So, and this isn't for doing now, but we've shared the 6 departments with you, and you've got a form here you can download and print off, or just straight out, just grab a pen and start working through these. I'll talk you through it. And then I'm going to hit you with 4 questions for each department to trigger some things. And these are by no means the only questions. I'm just giving you some examples of questions you could ask yourself. And then I'll give you 5 kind of tips or ideas for each of the 6 departments. So, and if you're smart enough, you'll know the reason why I've done it this way is you got to stay to the end to get the answers, right? So it's no good going early. So you'll get the answers at the end, but I'm telling you, they are coming. So I'm just going to give you some tips, some things you could do in each department. Right, we're going to start with some questions first. If you haven't done one of these, or you haven't done one of these for a long time, here's Ian's crib sheets, right? So something that really does explain how a SWOT works. And they are, I don't know how old, you could Google it. I'm sure it's been around a long, long time, maybe over 100 years, the whole SWOT thing. I still use it today. My daughter recently took on a new role. She was offered a new role, and I said she was very unsure about whether or not to do it. I said, just SWOT it out. Just SWOT it out. Just draw a grid and sit, and don't do it in your head. Sit and draw it out. So what happened was from about early days with my coach, 2004, probably for the first 2 or 3 years, I spent far too many times drawing this grid out and trying to explain it to people with a pen. And so I created the grid. All right. So toes the other day. Right. So there's also pest. I don't know if you know pest. There's a few. So but yeah, I'm a big fan of SWOT. All I say to people is physically draw it out. You can throw it away afterwards. It helps go through the process. So the idea here is that you SWOT out your departments and review, reflect, and revise where you are with each of them. Some of them will probably need more of a SWOTing than others. So strengths and weaknesses are internal, and your opportunities and threats are external. That's a kind of a good starting point. So not going to spend any more time on it. These are handouts for you. They are in the classroom right now. So short. So that's the first part of this process. Where's it gone? This form here is just current assessment. Don't go changing anything until you know where you are, right? So that's the reason for doing the SWOT. So you've done your SWOT, and then it's about understanding some short and long-term goals and strategic view. And if you were to do this the right way and not the way it is on the slides, I would say to you, understand what your strategic view is. So that's kind of, why am I even doing this? What does it look like when it's done? What's my vision for my business? Is kind of the strategic kind of view on it. Then your medium to long-term goals come back on that. And there's a great book called The One Thing, which kind of takes that to another level. So anyway, I'm going to do it this way round: short and long-term goals, just so you get an understanding of Ian's take on this. Anything, and we do this every week in the talent show, is they're very short-term activity-based goals, things that you can achieve and tick and say it's done, but it contributes towards a bigger outcome-based goal, and that outcome-based goal contributes and works towards your strategy, your vision for your business. So your short-term goals should be anything for this week, this month, for the next 3 to 6 months, things that you will go and do. For example, I'm going to update my website. I'm going to create some new marketing assets. I'm going to change my accountant. So these are activity based. And the long term would be something like, it could be your year's revenue goal. I'm going to grow my business by 35% this year. That's an outcome of the activity based goals that you're setting. And my advice is to do this against any of these departments. Caveat: don't do it against all of your departments at the same time, because you'll be on the phone to me saying my business is in drama. So pick something and work in isolation. Don't be, in fact, it's one of the things that when I first start working with a business from new, that when we sit down and talk to them, is like, where's our low hanging fruit? Because if you try and get at all of it at once, you'll end up in a pickle. Yeah, so smart and activity based, short term. Long term is outcome and should be some kind of stretch and something that you would reward yourself with. You know, you'd go away, you'd do something to acknowledge the achievement. Right, so strategic view. This is, so the metrics, this is kind of getting on the scales. So if your vision is to, you know, lose 3 stone in weight, the metrics would be how often you're running, what calories you're taking in, what the scales are telling you. The one that people often miss is the reward for achieving. So I sometimes reverse this. We might do it in the MBA actually. Let me write that down, and then I'll say no more on it, because if I tell you now, it won't have the same impact. It needs to be done the right way. So yeah, so rewards for achieving things, that's something that will come. Resource requirements: I'm going to need a new website. So last year, I found myself over 7 years into the other side of my work, which is leadership training. And I was over 7 years in. It was the realization I was over 7 years in, and I needed to separate it out as a product. And so the resource requirements, when I went through something very similar to this as an exercise, is I identified a plan, you know, strategic view. What is it I want as an outcome? And part of my resource requirements was a separate website. I knew I needed to isolate that out. So and so then I generate short-term activity-based goals, go find a template I can use, go find some assets, some photos, get some testimonials. These are all activity-based goals that contribute towards the outcome of having a new website. I'm trying to give you real life examples so you can see how it works. Time framing things. I've read stuff where this is this whole opinion thing where people have said you shouldn't worry about time boxing goals and things. Honestly, I find it bizarre that somebody would even write that down. It's so important that you commit to getting something done by a certain time frame, because even if you don't hit it, you are far more likely to get it on the next rotation. So if you don't time frame stuff for stuff, and there will be stuff right now that you haven't time framed that still hasn't been done. I must clean out that sock drawer. It still hasn't been done because I didn't say when I was going to get it done by. The science is that when you commit to a time to do something, the pain of procrastination starts to kick in when you miss that deadline. It doesn't kick in if there is no deadline. It's a self-imposed pain point is the time frame. So right, need to keep moving because we've got to do the questions and we're like 40 minutes in already. So right, so then the next handout, I have been busy, people. The next handout that I only finished this handout today is the questions. All right, so I put them on a handout because they were on the slides, and I thought rather than you go through the slides, I'll create a handout. So I've kind of copied these over so that you can print this off and actually try and answer some of these questions. Right, remember Bruce Lee with a pen. Some of these questions will be takers. You're like, that's a good question. Some won't be relevant, and some you would modify or you would add something to it. All right. So I've just given you some samples. So by department, so we're back to the product department. I'm just going to read these out. I'm not going to spend too much time. If you have any queries or questions on any of these questions, if it doesn't make sense, then, and these are just examples, then fire away. So, right. So how, and I alluded to this earlier, right? So how well does my current product portfolio meet the needs and expectation of your target customers? Right. So I think it's in my answer sheet that we'll come to later on. How are you going to know that? This has happened so often where I've been sat with clients and I've said, "Is that what they want?" And they've shrugged their shoulders. I don't know, and they start guessing. And I said, "Well, go and ask them. Actually, ask them. Is this what you want? Is this what you need?" So, and that's where the "Who Wants to Be a Millionaire" thing came from. Is we didn't do the 50-50, but I said, go to somebody that you really trust, that is a good A-grade client, and ask them to be honest, and just go out and survey your existing and past customers. Ask the audience. So what's the process for developing new products, and how can it be improved to increase efficiency and innovation? So some of you will have businesses, especially like your digital marketeers, where your platforms are changing all the time. And actually, I talked about the polls earlier. When polls first arrived on LinkedIn, every other post was a poll. And so we get things that go on trend. And so you want to be able to make sure that you're able to modify and move efficiently as things change around you. So really important. How do we monitor and maintain product quality through the life cycle, and what metrics do you use? So real life example. So in 2 weeks time, I've got 3 night shifts in Australia, and 3 times per shift I ask, how are we doing? That's at base level, right? So that's product quality during the life cycle of the presentation. So how are we doing? Are we on track? Are you happy? Am I hitting the brief? Has anybody decided that there's something missing? I've recently just spent 20 days in working in Africa back in March. I only had 2 days off over those 20 days. And I promise you, we were asking this question a lot during the presentation, because when I go back, there were things that they said that they wanted to change, during the course. And I did 5 sets. And so the 5th set was far more efficient than the first set, even ask over that life cycle. So just don't take it for granted. It will change. So having metrics or things in place that will help you with that is going to make a big difference. Pricing. Whoa. So big topic. If I was to ask a rhetorical question, who would like to have a mastermind on how to get the best price? So I just know that we'd get flooded with yeses. So we'll come back to this one because I get asked. I had somebody in our network that's very close to quite a few people here. I remember him asking me many, many moons ago, how do you work out how much you charge for what you do? And obviously I coach coaches. I get asked that question a fair bit, but actually it's a standard question, right? So, I'm an accountant, and there's a price point that is kind of an expected price point. So you kind of working within those boundaries. I swear to God, I could, in fact, if I can get her in here, I've got one client who raised her average order value from £350 to £1,700 average order value. So, and if I'd said to her right at the start of that conversation, it took 3 years. If I'd have said to her at the start of that conversation, we're going to like 3,000 times your price point, she'd have said, that's ridiculous. People won't pay that. So she does wedding venue dressing. That's her business. She puts cloths on tables. I don't want to belittle it. It's a fabulous business. It's actually, she's just sold it. An amazing business. But a plumber, I can remember working with a plumber, 85 quid was his average order value. And we got him up to over £1,500 average order value. So things like pricing is a very, very big topic. And I'm sure that we could definitely run a mastermind on that one. But the key question is, what are the key factors that influence your product pricing strategy? Market price, where the trend is, how much people are prepared to pay. Listen, people will pay 20p for a banana, and there are people that will pay £1.20 for a banana. It's a fact. So if we've got any banana sellers on today, we're good. Right, some ideas then. All right. So I've given you some questions. Here's some answers or some suggestions. Make sure all your services are productized. And what I mean by that is you should be able to open a box. Where's Anna Fox? What's in the box, Fox, is what I said to her. You should be able to open the box, and in there should be stuff. If it's a service, just vision. And I've got people that have actually on service, they have almost tangibly created a box. Ask the audience, which we talked about. Make sure that you understand what it is that your audience, your prospects needs and wants are. Review and refine your product range. If you have a broad suite of products, if you're not selling a certain product, understand why that is. Is it because there is no need or demand for it, or is it just because you're not selling it, right? What you don't want to do is muddy the water. So if it is something that's redundant, take it off. So I work with a firm, an online business, was selling plumbing parts, valves and radiators and things. And they employed they employed somebody, his job was to remove redundant products, things that people weren't buying anymore. So because you don't want to muddy the waters and confuse and stop people from seeing what it is that you do want them to buy. Constantly review your prospects' needs. So this is the ask the audience thing, really. So strategy wise, what would I do? If we were working together, I'd say, right, once a quarter, we go out. We go out to the customers, whether that means standing up at a networking event, whether it means doing some polls on the socials, whether it means doing a survey monkey. There's all sorts of different ways that you can do it. But understand, if you were a shop and you had stuff on the shelves, it's easy, right? You can tell whether or not something's past its sell by date, it's not shifting. If you're selling a service, you have to be as robust with that as you are as if it was a widget. Right. Marketing, 4 questions, 5 answers. Conscious of time. How well do you understand? I want to have the afternoon off. How well do you understand your target audience and their preferences? What market research methods do you use? So again, this is kind of like ask the audience. So how well do you understand their needs, wants, and preferences? So there's so many questions. So do they want to be able to buy something without talking to you? Do they? So I was out walking with a friend. Actually, he's in the group. Barry, we were talking about Calendly. Is it called Calendly? Very powerful tool, actually free in some respects, but very clever tool. Some people will shy away from a tool like that because they want to talk to somebody, and some people will love it because they can do it automated. Listen, there are restaurants that I don't go or book with now because I have to ring them. Because since COVID, you've got all these fabulous tools now where you can book a table and a time without literally at 10 o'clock at night without talking to anyone. So it's understanding what's changed, and because that is still part of your marketing process. So there's an important factor to it. So some people will want to talk to people, sometimes they won't. There are definitely times when, especially when something goes wrong, I don't want a bot. I actually want to talk to somebody. What are the most successful marketing channels and how do we measure their effectiveness? That's your classic dashboard. I have lots of tools for this. We will definitely do some marketing masterminds. I promise you. It's a big, I've won awards for marketing. So I have no qualification other than I get sold a lot of stuff. And I know, obviously, 20 years of working with so many different companies, I learn from them too. So what strategies do you have in place for lead gen and conversion, and how effective are they? So there are two conversion rates. There's the conversion rate from marketing to inquiry, and there's a conversion rate from inquiry to sale. So it gets missed, and most coaches won't tell you. They'll just say, what's your conversion rate? Or they'll ask you about your conversion rate, or they'll actually help you track your conversion rate. And most people will tell you, and you will tell me, your conversion rate is very high because your conversion rate is from inquiry to sale. And that's basically your sales process. Nowadays, prospects come to the seller when they're ready to buy, because we have access to so much information about you. I've got my network I can ask. I've got your socials I can go and look at. You're very good at putting up all this lovely information about your products and services. So I do my research, and then when I'm ready to buy, I come and speak to you, even if I'm not 100% there yet, and you have to engage your sales strategy. Fundamentally, I'm kind of almost there. So your conversion rate from inquiry to sale is going to be high. So the coachy question is always, well, tell me about your conversion rate from prospect to inquiry. How much marketing are you doing to get a lead? That's the conversion rate that often sucks. So the web guys, that conversion rate for them was 0.5. Because it's a web-based business, 0.5. So less than 1% of the people that came to the website bought something. And so we spent at least a year improving that 0.5 to 1%. And then that became their new benchmark. Ever drop below 1%, they were up in arms. So yeah, I need to keep moving. These are all rabbit holes I could dive down. So how do you manage and optimize your digital marketing efforts? SEO, social media, content marketing. How are you optimizing that? There's lots of ways you could optimize it. You could outsource it. We've got people that are ready, rubbing their hands right now saying, yes, come to me. I'll do that for you. And in fact, we've got several in our small group in the MBA that offer this service. So all I ever say to people that are looking to outsource their socials is do it for yourself first so that you understand it, at the very least, and then sit down with somebody and explain what it is that you're trying to achieve. So, and I know, we're all learning. Mark very kindly posted up his Facebook um, paid advertising strategy, his two sets of five. This is these are all things. Being a scientist, try things out. So, and I know that that's working for him. So, anyway, how do you manage that? How do you optimize it? We've got more than one platform. Our websites, we've got online network. There's so many different ways in which we do it. So it's the question is, how are you managing that? Let me give you some tips, some ideas. My 5 for 10 form, it's not in here, but it basically is 5 core strategies. We will do this, but it's 5 core strategies, 10 activities each month. You run it for 90 days. It's one sheet of paper. It's a marketing plan. It works. I know it works because I've been using it for 20 years. So it's a very simple yet very powerful way to manage your marketing. Commit to 90-day trials on different ideas. You may know in less than 90 days that something was a mistake or it's just not going to work. And that's why I like the 5 for 10 so much, is that you have 5 core strategies and you just commit to those 5 over the 90 days. And you just think, right, I'll have a refresh once a quarter. Balance your online with your offline. For everything that you're doing online, you could do far less offline and get a better return. It might cost you more money, it might take you more time, but the impact will definitely be greater. So especially if you get the balance right. So, and if you didn't take anything away today, if I was to ask a question, tell me what you're doing offline is probably the question from a marketing perspective. I'm conscious to some. I had no idea because I put this together for you lot. I had no idea how long this was going to take. Have at least one guerrilla marketing activity running. What is guerrilla marketing? Something that is low cost and disruptive. I will do a guerrilla marketing masterclass. I'm a big fan of it. It was stolen by the big corporates, and a lot of the big companies still use guerrilla marketing very effectively. They're lots of fun, but it was really intended for the small business owner like yourselves, like us, and I'm a big fan of it and I've had so much success with guerrilla marketing. I say to people, I asked the question, I asked the a kind of assumptive question, what guerrilla marketing strategy are you running at the moment? Most people will tell me, I'm not. So have something. So market to grow your audience, not just to sell your products. So go to market with a conscious effort to grow your community so that you're not selling any product or service. What you're selling is to get people to join your community, to grow your community. So all of us have got zeros missing off the size of our communities on our social networks. Daniel Disney, whose book I have in front of me, still 2 books. He has over 500,000 connections. I think he has 1 million followers on LinkedIn. I'm not suggesting that we get up to those dizzy numbers, but it kind of gives you a reference point. So it's important. Sales department. I'm not going to spend too much time on these because you've got the question sheet. Current sales targets, how are you performing against them? What CRM are you using? I'm going to do an add and tag. If I don't do it over the next week or two, somebody remind me, please. I'm going to do an add and tag. Name a software tool that you use. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be Outlook. But just name a software tool that you use, because I know that it'll draw out, oh, what's that? How does that work? I know that that'll be a good add and tag. So listen, I just made add and tag up. So literally for you guys. So what are the main obstacles your sales team face? That could be, you could be the sales team. How are you addressing them? How well do you track and analyze your sales data? Remember, this is sales, not marketing. There's a line. You have to draw a line. Once a lead arrives and it's identified as a prospect, they're now in the funnel. They're now in your sales process. That is different to your marketing process. Make sure your referral program is proactive, not reactive. Everybody in business has a reactive referral program. You're not going to turn them away. But how proactive is your referral program? Use a CRM tool to gather and track data. No brainer. That could be a spreadsheet, but there are so many fabulous, low cost, sometimes free tools. Less annoying. Soho, there's lots of them. So I'm sure you can name them. We'll do it as an add and tag. Never close a sale, open a sales relationship. The term close a sale is a wrong mindset. You should be starting something, not finishing something. So it should be the start of a relationship, not the close of a sale mindset. And this is one of the most powerful sales what's the word really? Process, I guess. Trust, need, help, and hurry. We will do a mastermind on trust, need, help, and hurry. In fact, I know some of you will have been to my sales and marketing face-to-face training. We do trust, need, help, and hurry in that. So balance post-sale with pre-sale. So your marketing activity and pre-sale activity should be balanced with post-sale activity, as in what happens once they've bought from you. So even if you have a transactional purchase, they've bought something from you, they've gone, you've done whatever needed to be done. How do you keep engaged with those people? Support department, let's get them up. 19 of 26 slides. We're nearly there, people. How effective is your IT at addressing technical issues, maintaining system uptime? How good, how quick are they? I can highly recommend the services of somebody like Cole Hughes in our group. He runs a support desk. Very, very, which you'll know because he's posted up some good stuff recently. He's always at the front end. He's a good guy. So, most common customer support issue you encounter. So if you have a recurring issue, how do you resolve that issue? So how do you measure the success of your support services? Speed, obviously, is a really important metric here. How happy they are with the outcome. What feedback mechanisms do you have in place for your support services? Do you do a survey monkey? Do you ask them to fill in a questionnaire? Do you ask for a testimonial or a review? It could be informal. How did we do? You know, it's just, but you should have something. So I already shared this with you today. Customer service must take a priority in your support systems. In 2024, customer service levels are still going south. They haven't stopped getting worse. They are still getting worse. It has so many areas, so many industries, so very few. And when you do get really good customer service, it really does stand out now. Like, it's like, whoa, they were really good, like really on it. So, I've got a couple of places just recently have been exceptional. Like and they're probably not, but because around them things are going south, these guys have really got a handle on it. Strong and trusted relationship with IT support. They should be part of your extended team. No different to your accountant, your coach, a lawyer, whoever it is. Proactively seek feedback from clients and your team on how you are doing. So There is absolutely no reason why Pippa shouldn't ask her daughter, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? So you should always um, a really good play on this is to ask somebody that you buy their services. So you, if, for example, if Becky was my accountant, I might say to Becky, I want to be a grade A client for you. What is it you need from me so that I can serve you best? Because if I can serve you better, I know that I'll get the best service from you. So there's nothing worse than a grade D client because we don't want to support them. So there's a joint responsibility, and that start of that process comes from asking, how are we doing? What could I do that's better? Love this one. Again, this is something you could take away and start today. Generate FAQs, how-tos, knowledge bases, case studies, anything that you can gift to your customers or your even prospects or people in your network. There are multiple levels of value in these kind of tools to give away, especially if you brand them up well. Consider a live chat channel or tool or something similar that you could put your website. So often these things are free now. All I say, the caveat with these is that if you introduce them, it reminds me of the drive-through at McDonald's. I haven't been to McDonald's for years, in truth, but my guess is the last time I did a drive-through at McDonald's, they asked me to park in one of the designated drive-through bays and they would bring the order to me. How can a drive-through service have a parking bay? Why would you have a parking bay for a drive? The alarm bells are ringing before you start. So if you have a live chat tool, guess what? It needs to be live. So if you're gonna offer something, make sure that you deliver against it. So it becomes you're better off not having something than not delivering against what it is that you're going to do. Right, the last couple then. How accurate and timely are your financial reports? What processes do you have in place to ensure they're reliable? Current budget, and how well are you managing it in relation to this thing about forecasting. It's a very different thing than a revenue target. This is a forecast. This is you budgeting, and you should be good at budgeting. In fact, I had this conversation yesterday. The worst time to go to the bank to ask for money is when you need money. It's the worst time to go. The best time to go to the bank and ask for money is when you know you're going to need money. And if you know that you're going to need money in 6 months' time, in 3 months' time, and you go to the bank and say, I'm going to need to increase my overdraft, or I'm going to need a loan at Christmas, they are more likely to lend you the money if you forecast when you're going to need the money, rather than turning up at the door and saying, I need some money. Just as a side, what are your main financial risks and what are you doing to mitigate those? There you go. So a lot of the tools now, Becky's put in the chat, Xero has forecasting and budgeting tools built in. I'm pretty sure Sage does too. Some of the free ones tend to come, apps have a forecasting and budgeting tool on them as well. Good things. So no excuse anymore. So how do you handle cash flow? What strategies have you got to maintain? You could have a good, successful business, but you haven't got cash flowing. You could end up in a pickle. Let's whiz through these, and then we're on to the last one. Recognize that your financial data is the most important data you can track. And nowadays there is no excuse because of these accessible tools. Know your numbers, break even, revenue goals, profit margins, your cash flow. You've got to know these numbers is so important. Make sure you're setting aside and factor in money that's not yours. Things like VAT and any other HMRC tax kind of costings. I've worked with clients on these over the years, where we've had to kind of claw back and start taking it away from them monthly rather than do it quarterly, because it was hurting way too much on the quarterly payment thing. Work with your accountant as if they were part of your team. Top tip. And if your accountant isn't somebody that you feel comfortable to work with that way, then you need to change your accountant. So Zero Sage, there you go. So streamline invoicing. And then the last department and the last few slides, how effective are your recruitment strategies to attracting top? So again, even if you're a sole trader and you don't employ somebody, this may not be relevant to you today, but there are elements on here that will be. So employee satisfaction, I check in with myself. I need to be happy doing what I'm doing. What is your employee turnover rate? Well, mine's okay at the moment, but I do work with people who struggle with retention, and you have to start asking the question why. And if you've got clients or you've got suppliers who have a high attrition rate, you've got to question how good is this a company to be working with. So, and have them as part of your support network, it can be a challenge. And then training programs. The way I would ask that question, it might come up in a sec actually, is what training do you need in order to do a better service? So, and here's my 5 ideas. Even if you're a sole trader, you have a team. We've already discussed. Reward positive actions for yourself as well as anybody that's in your team. Don't overlook that one, and vastly underestimated. Treat yourself. Your accountant, bookkeeper, IT support, HR coach are all part of your team. Seek the advice and support of an HR professional to prevent, not solve. That would translate across to accountancy as well, and IT. Anything where if you can stop something from happening, be proactive rather than getting them on the phone because something's not working. Include yourself in your HR needs, rewards, flexible working and training. There you go. That's kind of me done. Let's stop the share and come back. 3, 2, 1, back in the room. Ah, Nikki's there. You did stay. Well done. So, in fact, everybody stayed. Fabulous. Hope it was useful. Any questions? We're an hour and a quarter. Any questions, observations, anything I can help with anybody with? This video will be in the classroom on top of the handouts. It's yours to go back to whenever you need, as well as the PowerPoint. So if it's of use to you later on. Any good a takeaway? One, don't tell me number 72 chicken fried rice. A takeaway. Anybody got a takeaway? Something that has resonated?
I am, Ian. I like the gorilla strategy because I never think to do that. So the fact you include that in with your other strategies, I think that's just fascinating. I wouldn't think you really have to think about how to do that.
Have a gorilla.
Mm.
Whatever it could be. So I work with a I don't know. Anyway, I work with a marketing agency called Creative Click. Jo, she's an amazing lady. So her guerrilla marketing strategy, she used to physically stand on a chair at a networking meeting and would do a balloon dance. That's classic guerrilla marketing. Low cost, highly disruptive. The accountants that I coached, they were called H2O, and they had water bottles badged up H2O, and they were her business cards. She would give them out. So
Could we maybe have a thread in the MBA so people could share what they've done before? Because I think it would get some creative juices flowing.
Gorilla's always a fun one. So has anybody else deploy a gorilla strategy right now?
I use your 5-a-side.
5-a-side. Is that a particular gorilla? No, it depends what's on it. It depends what's on it. So the company that we did it with first, they did a picture of a car. Well, it was a picture of somebody driving a car, but there was no car. The car had gone. It looked like they were driving a car, but they were just kind of in midair. And the headline was, "We thought you should know your neighbors just had their car taken." And when you turn it over, it says, because they're in the catchment area of our garage and we collect and deliver for services. That's guerrilla marketing that went five-a-side. So they went and collected a car to bring it in for a service, and then they did five-a-side. So that is five-a-side and guerrilla. So yeah, we should definitely do a guerrilla marketing one for sure. So anybody else before we go on this sunny Friday afternoon? Thank you for staying. Hope
What's
you
in the
found it.
box? What's in the box? That was good.
in a
Productizing
box?
everything, all of the services.
Yeah, so if you can visualize it, and in fact, when I've done it with clients, we've physically done it on post-it notes. So if it's a service, we put it on post-it notes and physically put it in a box. And then digitally, we have I've worked with clients who have a service, so it's not tactile, but we've then produced physical assets and taken photographs of the physical asset rather than it just being a photograph or a PDF. We've turned something that is in the cloud, it's not real, but we've turned it into a physical thing. So this is that stuff, or this is the little detail that will make a difference. So Pippa's really good at this stuff, sending things out in the post, and it doesn't arrive in a plain old jiffy bag. It arrives in a bright colored jiffy bag. Those kind of things that a little bit guerrilla, but also it makes a difference. So yeah, but something in a box, whatever it is, so is very powerful. Are we good? Should we go home?
Saying the one takeaway for me, it was the HR side of things and the team and the extended team, and actually including yourself sort of under that HR label.
Yeah, you almost have to sit both sides of the desk. So, what you want to moan about, and then you go around the other side of the desk and, well, I'm going to take you to tribunal. So, because I should have had more time off and I'm not getting paid enough money. So, yeah, and I do. So, and I'm sure Keith will watch this, Keith Blakemore. I have an NLP diploma. One of the things that they teach you is to look at something from a third person perspective, as if you're looking at yourself and another person. If something hasn't gone well, or you needed something to if you can see it from an external viewpoint. So, and that's what I've tried to share here. Review, reflect, and revise is to, from the outside in, look at your business rather than just this holistic thing in department format. So there you go. Right. I genuinely have my running shorts on while I'm sat here. I do. I have my running shorts on, and I'm going to obviously not going running in this. I'm going to put a shirt on, a t-shirt. I'm going to go out for a run. So to end my week. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found it useful. I think the next one might be 3,125 ways to grow a business. It's disruptive. It's a little bit guerrilla-like, isn't it? 3,125. Yeah, it'll take us 4 weeks to do it, but we'll get through it together. Right, enjoy your weekend,
Thanks,
people.
Ian.
Stay safe. COVID is still
Thanks,
alive
Ian.
and well, so just look after yourself. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch up with you soon. See you later.
Thank you, guys.